Greetings, it's me, that ghost, and welcome to a video different than other kinds of videos I've made before. This video is going to be addressing comments I've made about my heart, sort of all over my internet presence. I just want to say off the bat, if anyone's listening to this because they want to know if I'm okay or not, I'm not going to clickbait you, I'm not going to keep you to the end of the video. I'm fine. We found out that my heart is way smaller than it needs to be, but that's something that can be grown over time, so we're gonna grow it. I've made a lot of comments about having a bad heart, be it on like podcasts with friends, like on my Instagram story, on YouTube streams with Crypt, just in general. I've made a lot of comments saying, like, I have a tiny heart, I have a bad heart, I have a weak heart. And a few days ago, I went to a pediatric cardiologist about this, and I actually finally got some answers. With those answers come like a whole lifestyle change that I have to now follow. So this video is going to be like the first video in a series about how I'm trying to live healthier, and in this video I'm just going to give a lot of background about what was wrong. But in the future, this will be like those videos where someone tries going vegan, or tries going Whole30, or tries any sort of other lifestyle change. Because in my opinion, this is as big a lifestyle change as those diets are. Even though I'm still allowed to eat pretty much whatever I want, this is still really hard for me. Here's the big water bottle. Just to give background, last year, my family spent spring break in Colorado, and right now it's the last day of spring break while I'm recording this. I don't know when this video will go up, but it was basically like a year ago today. My family came home, and I started throwing up and having diarrhea, and so was everyone else in my family, and we all thought that we had a virus that I can't say. And at the time, they were saying only go to a doctor if you have a fever above like 105. So even though we all had fevers, we all showed a bunch of symptoms like coughing, vomiting, diarrhea. We're all very, very sick. All of our fevers were like 102, 103, so we stayed home because we didn't want to waste doctors' and nurses' precious resources. By the time I was physically healthy again, I jumped into the workforce and I got a job as a CNA. And the place that I worked at was very bad. I'm not going to say their name on this video because I'm not trying to like expose anyone or like blast anyone or whatever people say. But they were understaffed, and because of that, their staff members, they didn't get breaks to eat or breaks in general. But they also weren't paid when they'd work through their lunch break, work through other stuff, so they're paid by the hour. But I ended up leaving there, and I didn't leave there to make them more understaffed. I actually felt really morally bad leaving because I felt like I was abandoning a bunch of people that I had been taking care of for a few months. But I physically couldn't work there anymore because while I was working there, I lost 30 pounds. I started fainting all the time. I would lose my vision for periods of time. Like, I would be walking or sitting. Like, if I'm at home, I would just be, like, relaxing, watching TV, and my vision would cut out, and I'd be completely blind. And it was so terrifying because every time I worried, like, what if this time my vision doesn't come back? Sorry, I'm laughing. That's, like, my defense mechanism when I'm really scared. And I had a bunch of other symptoms. My heart rate, while I was working there, since it's a medical facility, they had tools, so they put one of those heart rate things on my finger, and my heart rate was always in the 140s. Like, it was way higher than any human heart rate should be. So overall, I was basically near death. And I was taken to the hospital downtown because this was like a few months after they started letting people go to the hospital again for non-viral reasons. And they determined that like every time I moved, my heart rate would skyrocket. Like if I'm sitting down and I stand up, it would skyrocket. If I am lying down, I'd sit up. Just like whenever I'd change position. And they also determined I had a really, really low blood pressure, but a really, really high heart rate. And the first hypothesis I was given was because you lost so much weight from being sick and from not being able to eat or drink, working 8 hours a day on your feet, being exploited, and HR isn't helping you and whatever. Again, I'm not trying to throw shade at this retirement home, and HR didn't help. And when I was like fainting on the job, I would be guilted or even like told I'm a bad person by other employees when I'd go home, even if I'd faint and like hit my head on the floor. But anyway, I went to the doctor, and they said that it looked like I had like damage done to my heart by a virus, but they weren't like really sure. So they wanted to do further testing. So then like I returned a few days later, and they tested my heart. I forget what they called it. It was something where like they put like these 10 different like wires coming out of my chest, and they listened to my heart rate for 30 seconds, and they were like, "Oh, your heart's fine. Like you're fine. Go home." So obviously the flaw in that is I didn't move during that. And also it's 30 seconds. You're not going to get a good sample out of 30 seconds of data. Like listen to my heart for a minute or for 5 minutes. But whatever. Basically they did a dumb test. They never had me sit up or stand down or move, not sit up or stand up or sit down or move around to make my heart do anything. So they basically said there was no evidence I was sick, and they said I'm fine. So at home, I was trying my best to recover. I started eating a lot of food that makes you gain weight and makes you have a higher blood pressure because the first doctor recommended that. The person who said that it was because I lost weight and the person who said nothing's wrong, those are two different people. So I gained a bunch of weight, and now I actually weigh more than I did before I even got sick. Which, I mean, that makes sense. It's like a year has passed, I'm still going through puberty, so it makes sense that I'd gain a little weight. And I still experience a lot of these symptoms. Like I would run into walls in my home. I would lose my vision. It's much rarer now that I lose my vision, but like it literally happened yesterday. I was watching TV and my vision cut out, and I freaked out. Whenever it happens, it's terrifying, and I always get scared, like when I practice driving or when I'm on my bike. Like, what if I lose my vision behind a wheel? I faint. I would be like sitting still, like I'd be watching TV with my mom and dad, and suddenly my heart would be beating like really fast, like, and my skin would feel burning hot, and I'd feel like sweat gathering in my hair and like dripping down my back and my face. So I'd turn to my mom or my dad, and I'd be like, "Do I have a fever?" And they'd touch my forehead, and they're like, "You're cold and clammy. You don't have a fever." But to me, like I'd be on fire. So as this has continued, and then it was like basically a whole year, I'd gained the weight back, but I was no longer like nearly dead like I was a year ago, but I was clearly not at all anywhere near healthy. So they contacted like a specialist, a pediatric cardiologist, and they said like they made an appointment. So I go there a few days ago. One second, my throat hurts. I go there a few days ago, and they did the same dumb 30-second test they did to me at the hospital in my town. So the place I went's like an hour away from my house. It was still in my state, but like it was a road trip. But they did the same dumb test. But then after that, they did a test called an echo, which is short for something I forget. And it's like an ultrasound, which I've had that done before because I've had cysts under my skin where they used an ultrasound to find out if it was a cancerous tumor or if it was just a cyst. So, um, I was ready for this, but the doctors didn't know that. So they were being very calm and patient. Like they're like, okay, this gel, it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be uncomfortable having us move it because they basically take like a microphone covered in gel and like move it around your like chest and throat, trying to see your heart through sound waves, which is really cool. They let me watch the screen that had like the picture of my heart on it, and it was like a live video of my heart beating. And I thought it was so cool to see it move as I felt it. Other people might be freaked out by that, but since I'm not squeamish, for me, it was like having an echo was kind of fun. Like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, go out and get one. 'Cause no, only get one if you need it, duh. But like, if you're ever having heart problems and the doctor says you need an echo, don't be afraid for the echo because it's fun. It's fun if you're interested in medicine, which I am. I used to like really want to be a surgeon when I grew up. Right now, I'm wearing my like health volunteer from when I volunteered at a hospital a few years ago. Now I'm not so sure because working as a CNA, I was planning on. They're like, okay, they didn't tell me if it looked good or bad or not, and I wasn't gonna ask them. So then they sent me to this other room, and they were gonna have a doctor come in, and the doctor comes in, and he did something which I think was really smart, before he, like, said anything about what he thought, he asked my family, like, what do you think this is? Because that gives us to explain, like, all the symptoms, when we saw each symptom, how we think the symptoms are related. And let's say someone goes to a doctor and they have, like, misinformation in their head. Like, they really think they have one disease when in fact they have another. If they tell the doctor what disease they think they have, that doctor can then explain to them why it isn't that, instead of just saying, oh, it's this other thing. Because then that patient will always be scared in the back of their head. Like, I'll put it this way, if I went to the doctor and he didn't explain to me in great detail what was actually wrong, I'd probably still think that I got, the pandemic virus, and it permanently hurt my heart. Like, I'd always be afraid in the back of my head this is permanent. But because the doctor was patient and sat down and talked to me, I'm not really afraid anymore. Because he's absolutely convincing. And he also gave me this handout, which I'm going to go over with you guys. My parents explained, like, every symptom I've had. I explained a bunch of symptoms. And some of the symptoms are stuff that only I would know about. Like, lack of appetite. Or, like, just, like, stuff with my pee. Like, my parents wouldn't know about that. But the doctor had me, like, get this sheet, and it had, like, 11 symptoms listed, and it was, like, check off all that apply, and I checked off, like, 8 out of the 11, which that's most of them. So he comes in, and he listens to our long speech about what we think is wrong with me, and then he's like, okay, well, I know what it is. And he said, I know what it is because I just watched a live video of your heart for 20 minutes, and I can see the problem with my own eyes. And we were all like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, what's the problem? And he's like, your heart has shrunk. Like, it's small. And you can see in a video, like, since I have seen hearts before. I watch surgery videos online, but, like, I'd never, in my head, I don't really know how big a heart is supposed to look on the ultrasound screen. So when I saw my heart up there, it's like, yep, that's my heart. And the doctor's like, yeah, it's, like, tiny. He was really talking to me like I'm a kid, which I get it, because, like, he's a pediatrician, he's used to talking to kids. But because he talked to me like I was a kid, I really understood it, because he made it impossible not to understand. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of it right now. But he'd ask something like, what can you do to make there less blood in your body? And I'd say something like, well, I can pee. And he'd say, well, that actually won't make there less blood in the body. But, and then he explained to me basically, it's like, it takes a long time to gain blood and to lose blood. If you were really, really dehydrated every single day, you would actually slowly lose blood. And in losing blood, your heart would shrink, because your heart's always, like, just the right size for the blood in your body. So if you have, like, no blood in your body, you're going to have a tiny heart. And if you have a lot of blood in your body, you're going to have, like, an enlarged heart. And he was explaining how not only can it do with water, but it can also do with altitude. Like, if I moved up into the mountains, over time, my heart would physically grow. And if someone moved down to the plains where I live, their heart would, like, slowly shrink. But it would be very gradual and natural. So because I was, one, vomiting out and, like, pooping out all my water because I was sick, two, I couldn't eat or drink at my job, and I was on my feet moving around for 8 hours a day, and I was crying. Like, often I'd be crying walking down the halls, and I'd, like, wipe it right away before I entered a resident's room. But I was emotionally distraught the whole time. Basically, my body adapted to survive an area with no food and no water. Like, my body adapted the way a body would adapt if you just dropped it in a desert. And because of that, my heart physically shrunk. And he was saying, is to get it back up, I need to drink a lot of water. I need to eat a lot of food. And I was saying, well, I do eat a lot of food, because I've probably gained, like, 40 pounds since a doctor told me to gain weight. But he said, not only do you have to drink enough water, you have to drink water during the right hours of the day. Which is why I have this now. This is the big water bottle. And each one of these tape markings, the top of the tape is supposed to be an hour. So it goes 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. But from 6 to 3, I need to drink 8 to 10 ounces of water an hour. And I have it taped up. Yeah, I could just read the measurements on the side, but it just helps me figure stuff out in my head to have the tape, because then I don't need to stop and think, okay, we'll jump down 2, and that would be this hour, and jump down 2, but then I refilled it at this time. I just get to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I just get to like feel the bumps of the tape, and that helps me. I don't know, the way I think is weird. Yeah, I'm gonna be absolutely fine as long as I like really, really, really strongly rehydrate myself. But that isn't just drinking a lot of water, because I drink a lot of water during streams and podcasts. I drink water like multiple glasses an hour. But the doctor was saying that doesn't count because you just pee it out. You need to drink a lot of water. You need to drink at the right times of day, and then you need to avoid chemicals that keep your body from getting the water and like utilizing it properly. So I'm not supposed to have any caffeine, which is rough because almost all of my like signature drinks have caffeine. Like, here's an empty Dr. Pepper can. My room's a mess right now because I'm like moving in a few months and I'm going through all my stuff. I've donated a lot of clothes and a lot of books and other things, and it's rough. But I probably have like 20 empty Dr. Pepper cans in my room. None of those are from the last few days because I'm not allowed to drink Dr. Pepper anymore. It's my signature drink. I have a Dr. Pepper hat like on the floor right over there. I eat Dr. Pepper cotton candy. If they ever made a Dr. Pepper perfume or cologne, I would be all over that. Like, Dr. Pepper is the best drink. And I'm not allowed to have it anymore. Which, breaks my tiny heart. Well, on top of that, tea. I drink so much tea. I like to have like a cup of green tea right after I wake up and have a cup of coffee. So I have my cup of tea after that, and then I do school at home because I'm in poor health. Like, I'm not going to go to school in person if I'm just going to like faint every time I go up and down stairs. Because my school is 2 stories, so I can't do that. So I usually would have like 1 cup of tea per school hour. Like, oh, it's first hour, I'm gonna have a cup of raspberry tea. Oh, it's second hour, I'm gonna have a cup of mint tea. Oh, it's third, I'm gonna have like a cup of green tea. And I didn't do that at the beginning of the school year. I really did that in like the fall and the winter because there's just something peaceful about like holding a warm cup. Every morning I'd have like a cup of black coffee, I'd have a million cups of tea, I'd have Dr. Pepper in the afternoon. I'm not allowed to do any of that. So obviously that's a very abrupt change. Because the doctor was telling me it'd be best if I quit cold turkey, that was just like really hard for me to do, because now it's like suddenly my body just has this like caffeine crash, and I've noticed my sleep schedule is already like way worse. Like, I'll fall asleep around like 8 p.m. and I'll sleep until like 8 a.m. I'll sleep 12 hours and I'll wake up still exhausted, and I'll take naps in the afternoon. And part of that might be my allergies. I've been having severe allergies for a few days. My eyes just constantly feel really goopy. They have massive bags. They just want to close. So I've been sleeping constantly. I slept almost all through spring break, which is mad because it ends tomorrow, and I got like nothing I wanted to do done. Because I was sleeping. So that's an issue. And the thing is, it's not that bad, because I've actually quit caffeine cold turkey before. I did it a year ago when my heart first stopped working. When I was like working at the job, I started to never drink caffeine ever, because I thought the reason why I was fainting and blacking out and like shortness of breath, I thought that was from caffeine. Which now I know it isn't. Well, I mean, it sort of is, but it's actually from dehydration, which caffeine contributed to. Now here's where it gets hard. I'm not supposed to have like fruit juice either, and I can still have fruit, but it's like fruit is a natural laxative, and it's from like the natural sugars in it. So, I mean, having like a few fruit a day is good. You eat like an apple, you eat an orange, eat some grapes, you're fine. But every time you've seen one of those like Island Survivor movie or TV shows, the people in it, usually from eating mostly fruit on the island, there'll be some joke about how fruit makes you poop. That's a joke that everyone makes. Like, they made it in Survivor. They made it in Lord of the Flies. Like, everyone does. Not Survivor, what's it? Whatever the movie was with the Wilson ball. That thing.
Hey guys, it's me, Future Ghost. I meant Castaway.
So I'm not supposed to drink fruit juice, and I'm somebody who drinks a lot. Like I'll have a cup of orange juice in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'll have like a cup of grape juice, and then like, oh, I'm gonna go on a walk with my family. I'm gonna have some aloe vera juice since it comes in bottles. I'll bring that with me instead of a bottle of water. And the part that makes it worse is that not only is fruit juice made with like, it's the natural sugars of the fruit in fruit juice that make it not good for you to drink if you're dehydrated, because it'll make you have diarrhea and you'll lose all the water. But not only does fruit juice have more natural sugars than a piece of fruit, because there's a lot of fruit in it, because people want it to sell, they fill it with refined sugar. There have been multiple scientific studies done that say that refined sugar has more addictive quality than cocaine to it. And because of that, in America, a lot of food they pack with refined sugar. Like they'll add refined sugar to milk. They'll add it to cereal. They'll add it to corn chips. They'll add it to literally everything. So you become addicted to that product and you buy more because we live in a capitalist society. That made me addicted to it. Basically, I've been craving fruit juice like really bad for these past few days, to the point where like I've almost cried about it. Like there have been multiple times where I'll just be like thinking about how much I want fruit juice, and I'll feel my eyes watering up because it's like I'm mad that I can't go get fruit juice, and I'm getting kind of aggressive about it. But yeah, that's definitely been the hardest part of my new lifestyle. It's like drinking the water itself has been fine. You can see I just passively drink, and I've noticed when I drink, I naturally follow the right order. Like if you go 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11. I guess I should be up here 10 to 11. So right now I'm recording this. It's like 10:30. So I got a little behind, but this morning I woke up at 8 instead of 6, so I had to like catch back up. Hey guys, it's me, Future Ghost, again. This video was recorded the day after Spring Forward, and I forgot to change that clock. So I'm actually 2 hours behind on my water, but I woke up 2 hours late, so my point is still proven. I drink exactly the right amount per hour just passively. It's extremely sick these last few days. Part of that might be the lack of caffeine. So last time I quit caffeine, it made my nose run a bunch, and it made me really sensitive to light, and right now I'm experiencing like extreme caffeine withdrawal, and I'm experiencing like extreme addiction to sugar and a bunch of other issues. So like yeah, the water thing's easy. The caffeine thing, it's okay. Like yeah, I'm showing withdrawal symptoms, but I don't feel like craving it. My mom kept saying like, oh, if you're really craving caffeine, you can always make yourself decaf coffee. And I kept telling her like I enjoy the flavor of coffee, but I don't crave it. And I compared it to like I really like the flavor of raw fish, and I crave sushi. I also really like the flavor of, like, pizza, but I've never craved pizza. I've never been like, I hope I have pizza for lunch. I'm really in the mood for that. But I have felt that way about sushi, and I felt that way about other foods, too. And I was saying is, like, I crave fruit juice. I don't crave coffee. I really love the flavor of black coffee, but, like, I could go forever without it, without breaking down. Where, I don't know, it's been, like, 3 days without fruit juice, and like you can hear a little bit of cry in my voice when I talk about not having it. I've done big lifestyle changes before. Like freshman year of high school, I went vegetarian. I think I was vegetarian for like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, which that isn't a long time, but that was the first time in my life I ever really made a decision like this for myself. Like in the past, it would be like, I eat what I'm allowed to eat. So it's like if my parents told me like we're not gonna bring this food into our house anymore, which they had done that before. Like they'd say, like I've read some study this is unhealthy, so we're gonna stop buying this. I'd just be like, okay, like I'd eat what my parents make. So when I went vegetarian, when I was younger, that was a really big deal because I was making a decision like with my own autonomy. I wasn't being controlled by my parents. I was doing something for myself, and it was really hard. And I would cook my own meals because my parents were not making vegetarian meals. And it didn't last long, but I feel like in that time I really built up a lot of character and a lot of just like learning more about how I connect with my food and how I have to control my own urges from time to time. Um, and a lot of stuff I've learned from both being vegetarian and stuff I've learned from the last time I quit caffeine is really helping me get through this, but it's still just insanely hard. The good news is like my family's a little bit lenient. Like I've eaten Dr Pepper cotton candy, which I don't think it has caffeine, but if it does, it's not the end of the world because I'm only eating it once, so I'm gonna be healthy from like whenever I finish it onward. Like I've had little like cheats only 3 days in, which might show weak character, but it's Dr Pepper's hard because it has caffeine, which is addictive, and it has sugar, which is addictive. Like my my all time favorite drink is bad for two reasons. It's rough. But yeah, that's kind of filled in the information. I've skipped over a lot of stuff like when I was tested for COVID, and I probably haven't told you every single symptom I've shown. But that's just a general overview of what happened to me. Is like I got really sick. My heart stopped working to the point where I couldn't feel my limbs due to bad circulation. I was blacking out and fainting, lightheaded, couldn't breathe. Right now, whenever I exercise, it's always really risky. So I always have to go out with a partner. Like if I'm going hiking, a family member has to be with me. If I'm going on a walk, stuff like that. So if I faint, I don't hit my head and die. So yeah, my lifestyle is completely different. But the good news is that I learned this was temporary. Like when the doctor told me your heart has shrunken and that it can regrow, that really cheered me up because it means this isn't something I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. But it's like I was so sick of like never being able to do stuff alone, and now I know that's temporary. I was sick of a lot of other things, and I'm happy to know it's temporary. I won't always be fainting. I won't always be blacking out. Um, so with this paper, it just lists like 13 symptoms of having a bad heart. So the first one is elevated baseline heart rate and decreased blood pressure, which, yes, I have an insanely low blood pressure and an insanely high heart rate at all times. Like if someone came and took my pulse, they'd think my heart is racing, and it's like, no, this is my heart normally. You should see how fast it gets when I exercise. When it talks about heart palpitations and shortness of breath, yep, every time I exercise, and sometimes when I'm not, sometimes I'll just be watching TV and suddenly it's like, and I die. Cool distal extremities, and they put in parentheses cold hands and feet. Yep, there have been multiple times where I've actually lost feeling in my hands and feet. Like I'll touch things and I can't feel them and I can't feel my hands. Like I'll rest my hand against my face and I feel my hand on my face, but I don't feel my face on my hand. That was terrifying. It was, in my opinion, just as scary as losing my vision. But the hand thing stopped. Like the hands and feet thing, I always feel them now. Like I felt that. Where with my vision, yeah, I still lose my vision sometimes. Dark circles under eyes, yeah, you can like kind of see it here. Because I'm in front of a big window, it's hard to see. But when I'm not, when I don't have like fresh sunlight, beauty lighting, there's like this dark red gray color under both of my eyes. Um, Dizziness with standing, yes. Whenever I move, like stand up, sit down, or lie down, other stuff, I get really lightheaded. Like every time I lie down on a bed, I feel like a swirling in my head. After I lie down, it feels like almost like I'm falling, and my heart really speeds up. Like if I lay down, suddenly it's like really bad, like vertigo, motion sickness. Um, which that's gotten better as I gained weight, but it's still an issue. Like every time I lay down to go to bed for the night, I feel really sick, and there are multiple times where I've like thrown up in my bed and I need to change my sheets. So headaches, yes. Brown pee, no, I actually don't have that one. I have healthy pee. It talks about orthostatic postural changes, usually an increase in heart rate, sometimes a drop in blood pressure with standing. Yes, I've explained this multiple times. My doctor, when I was there, said to me, you could write a textbook on like the effects of dehydration on the heart, because I experienced every symptom and I was able to explain them all in like little kid terms because I didn't know all these fancy medical terms. So I'd be like, when I stand up, my heart rate drops and I get all lightheaded and my heart hurts. And the doctor's like, yeah, that's normal. Um, Decreased exercise tolerance, yeah. When I hike, when I do bike rides, I need to stop like every like 4 or 5 minutes. take a breather. Blackouts and syncope, or syncope, I don't know. In parentheses, fainting. Yes, I faint all the time. Like, multiple times a week, I'll be doing something, and I will actually hit the floor. And other times, I'll feel like I'm about to faint, and I brace myself against a wall. But yes, I faint many times a week. It's really scary. Sensations of tiredness and decreased energy. I've been extremely lethargic for like a year now. Like, I sleep constantly. I never feel well rested when I wake up. Like, it's just hard. Constipation, I don't experience that, but I also really don't poop that often, ever. Like, my whole life. It's actually normal for people to poop 1 to 3 times a day, which that doesn't sound like that big of a variance. It's like a 1 to 3. But when you think about it, that means the normal amount of poops per week is anywhere from 7 to 21, and that's a big variety of what's considered healthy. Like, all the way from 7 to 21, that's all considered healthy. So I've always just been on the lower end of the poop spectrum, so I can't really, from a medical perspective, I can't really speak much about constipation, because that's just not something I've ever faced. I'm sure other people would have a lot more to say. And then early beats from upper or lower chambers. Everyone says my heart beat is fine. It's just that my heart is too small. So, I don't know. But, yeah. Basically all the symptoms on the list I meet. So, yeah. On this paper, it actually, when it specifies, like, soda, things you should avoid, one of the first things it specifies is Dr. Pepper. You can see it right there. This paper wasn't made for me. This was like a generic handout I was given. And it says you can't have soda, comma, Dr. Pepper, that's separate from soda for some reason, comma, tea, again, comma, energy drink, I don't do that, comma, coffee, I do that, comma, iced tea, comma, green tea. So I don't know why iced tea and green tea are separate from tea. I don't know why Dr. Pepper is separate from soda. But they separated everything I drink in this generic handout for the average American. So either all of my drinks are really like basic bitch, and like every American teenager is like, Dr. Pepper and tea, these are the best drinks. Or it's just crazy luck. But this handout really, really called me out and said, like, the lifestyle you're living, like, Ghost, the way you live, is the exact way you're not supposed to live when you have health problems. But yeah, these first few days have been rough, but I'm gonna update maybe like once a week. Maybe, I don't know. They said that the shortest amount of time I would need to do this would be 6 to 8 weeks. I might need to do it longer, but in like 8 weeks, I'm gonna go have them video my heart again, and if it's grown back, then they said that I can have caffeine and juice and stuff, but I need to learn better balance. So, I'll come back in at least 6 to 8 weeks. I'll make a second video saying whether or not I grew back my heart. I'll make an update video if I relapse on any addiction or if I feel the need to address anything else. I'm trying to think. I love all these lifestyle change videos on YouTube. Like, I went vegan, I went Whole30, all those. I went Atkins. Like, I love all those videos. And in them, they update like once or twice explaining how things are going. And I might do that. But the way it's going right now is it's really overwhelming because it seems like no matter how much I sleep, it isn't enough. And I'm losing a lot of time every day to sleep that I can't really get anything done, which is frustrating. I'm having like really bad nightmares all the time. And I'm having extreme cravings to the point where I feel like physical pain in my mouth and like I feel like crying. So I'm definitely battling some addictions. Before we end the video, I just want to share. I actually asked the doctor, like, how small my heart was. Because, I'm curious. And someone says your heart has shrunk. It's like, oh, well, has it shrunk, like, this much? Or has it shrunk, like, all the way? Because the average human heart is supposed to be the size of your two fists. Like, if you took your two fists and, like, moved them around the right way, that's, like, the size of your heart. And he was saying that, like, he was like, you know what, like, a Z-score is, and you know what, percentiles are. And I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. And he's like, well, you'd be in like the first percentile, which means if you lined up like 100 people, you'd be the smallest. Hopefully in a month or a month and a half, I'll have the average male heart size, which would be the same as the average female heart size, because most men and most women just have like the same or similar sized hearts. But yeah, out of 100 young men, I have the smallest heart, and I'm gonna try to get that to like a medium heart, and maybe even a bigger one, because I'm gonna move to the mountains in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. So when I move there, my heart will like naturally grow. If I'm living a healthy lifestyle there, it'll naturally grow due to the altitude. If I'm living unhealthy, it'll shrink. But if you're unhealthy anywhere, your heart will shrink. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get an average heart size or above average, because I'm moving to a place where people tend to require bigger hearts. Okay, I'm back after a brief technology issue. But yeah, I'm gonna try over the next month and a half to grow my heart to a average male size or larger than average male size. I might update you along the way, or I might just check in a month and a half. But I wish everyone luck and good health. And if you're someone who's struggling with like any of the symptoms I listed, try to drink 8 to 10 um, ounces of water an hour. Try to sleep more. Try to avoid caffeine and fruit juice, and maybe this will help you. Um, Overall, I don't think this will affect me making videos in the future, because I'm still doing the Minecraft streams at the crypt. I'm still doing a lot of other stuff I need to do. I'm still working on videos that I've been working on for over a year, so I keep forgetting about them, and then I get back into them. I'm still gonna be my normal self on the internet, but back home, behind the scenes, yeah, like if video production slows down, or if I seem more lethargic in videos or more angry, I'm battling some addictions behind the screen. To balance that out, though, I was gonna make a whole separate video about this, which I still will. I'm just gonna briefly address it here. I've started working with someone new to help me sort of like manage my YouTube channel, so that'll take some of the burden off my shoulders while I'm dealing with all of this shit. Oops, I swore, but yeah. But yeah, I have like a director, producer, that kind of person kind of helping me out now, which I'm going to talk about them in a later video. But yep, I'm improving my heart health. Goodbye, addictions. Goodbye, addictions. I hope everyone's healthy. I hope if you're not healthy, you're, fighting to get healthier. It's been me, that ghost. Drink water.